Hello everyone, Pedro here with CineMilled in the CineMilled garage, and we're looking at the back of our truck because we're finally ready to launch our vehicle line of products. You know, we figured the best thing to start out with, which would be something the equivalent to the foundation of any sort of vehicle rigging that you might have to do, is a hitch mount. The trailer hitch on any sort of pickup truck or passenger vehicle even is sort of the strongest mounting point you could ever have on your vehicle, because it's designed to, you know, hold the tongue weight of a trailer, pushing down on it and even pulling on it. So it is the best mounting point. If you know, even if you're rigging off of suction cups like we'll do later in the video, in other points, you should always have a really rigid, at least one point that carries most of the weight that's really rigid and strong, and then you can support it with suction cups. You know, the hitch mount is really, it's the basis of everything, and so we wanted to make something that's doesn't, you know, there's a lot of hitch mounts out there that people have been using for years, and they're made of steel. And, you know, of course, us being CineMilled, we wanted to make a billet aluminum one. And of course, this means it's extremely strong, extremely sturdy, and it allows us to do a lot of things that maybe you can't do so easily with other ones. Definitely better than the other options out there. Most pickup trucks will already come with a hitch, a trailer hitch receiver, which is the square hole right there. So on our website, we are now an authorized reseller of the TorqueLift Eco Hitch line of hitches. So this is a TorqueLift hitch that I actually changed it. And then the nice thing about the Eco Hitch line of hitches is that they make hidden hitches, so that when you're not using it, you can't really see it. So for many passenger vehicles, you'll be able to see if your vehicle is listed on there. They are the best hitch manufacturer, made in the United States, very high quality. And then when it comes to passenger hitches, you also need multiple attachment points, so it's very important that you pick a quality hitch. But most passenger vehicle hitches will not be the 2-inch square receiver size. It will actually be 1.5 inches. So we will be offering our billet hitch in the 2-inch size and the 1.5 inch size. So whether if you have a pickup truck or if you have a passenger vehicle, we will have a hitch for you. So let's talk about our hitch mount. So here we have a 2-inch model that we're gonna rig up here to my truck. And if you can get a 2-inch receiver on your vehicle, I highly recommend it. It's a lot stronger. And so here we go. So basically, there's a few key differences in our system and advantages and features that I'm gonna go over. But basically, to start off with, you're gonna be, like I said, 1.5 inch or 2-inch hitch receiver. The other option at the time of purchase you can pre-select is the Speedrail size. So we will have either 1.25 inches or 2-inch. In the future, we may offer other different sizes. We're also going to offer a shim so that you can reduce the 2-inch to 1.25 inches. And so that'll be an option at the time of ordering, is what Speedrail size that you're looking for. The hitch that we sell is going to come with 2 Speedrail clamps. Now these Speedrail clamps you can mount in any of the 4 different positions along the side of our mount here, and then also we have a position right at the front. So why you would choose different positions, basically it determines how far away it is from the body of your truck or from the bumper of your truck or your vehicle. And personally, I almost always want it all the way at the end. Now, we made this 18 inches long, which is the longest we can make it in our machine. I'm gonna look into maybe even making a longer one in the future, because basically the farther out you put this tube, the more you can pan when you're parallel to the vehicle you're shooting before you actually see the bumper of your vehicle. So the further out you can mount that tube, the more advantage you have, because you have a little bit more panning motion before you see your own vehicle. But because of other considerations, you may want to move that tube closer to the vehicle. Maybe the Speedrail you're using to to triangulate isn't long enough, and so you have to move it back. So we did give you 4 different mounting positions along the side of the hitch here, as well as the front one. So if you're just looking to mount one vertical piece of Speedrail because maybe you have a black arm or any other kind of suspension arm that isn't the CineMilled action arm, because the CineMilled action arm, we prefer to mount our arm using 2 Speedrails, 2 vertical Speedrails. This prevents twisting and flexing of the arm. Any sort of lateral displacement gives you some lateral parallax, which is something I don't like. And 2 Speedrails are a lot stronger, a lot stiffer. You know, again, weight is not a concern because we're dealing, you know, the vehicle's carrying the weight. For CineMilled, we prefer using 2 verticals. The black arm, as well as a lot of other black arm like suspension arms out there, use a single tube only. So you could mount the clamp right to the front, or you could just run your one tube in any position down the side. So it's a good time to talk about the Speedrail clamp. So the Speedrail clamp has a few really cool features. The most apparent of which, you'll see here, there's lots of these little holes here. That's because the Speedrail clamp actually has 4 stainless steel pins, as well as the very large 3/8 stainless steel main securing bolt. So this allows you to clock the Speedrail in 90-degree positions, so either vertical or horizontal, and then also in 45-degree positions. So that's really cool. The advantage of doing, you know, 90-degree angles and 45-degree angles are angles that we commonly encounter when we're rigging things. And I wanted something that wouldn't slip, that wouldn't move, and that didn't have any play. So the 4 stainless steel pins give us that strength and give us the fact that then nothing can, there's no play in the system. So the clamps are really cool, and they can also work in a lot of other ways. You'll see in our other, the rest of the vehicle line is the Houdini clamps, and we use the same clamps on the hitch that we use for the Houdini clamps and a few of our other products that are coming down the road. So the clamps will be very interchangeable. So you get 2 with the hitch, but you'll be able to use these clamps on other things also down the road. So our clamps are cool. The other small feature that I would want to talk about right now is, of course, there's the stainless steel 3/8 bolt, which is the main securing device for the clamp. We put a hole on the top clamp there so that you can put your wrench right in there and tighten it without having to take the clamp off. So this gives you a quick way to move the position of the clamp or change the position along the length of the hitch mount. The other thing we did is, since we wanted to put a hole so that you can put a wrench in there, we actually tapped that hole with a 3/8 set screw that you can put in there. And, you know, if you're extra paranoid and you got the Speedrail in there, you can now pinch down, tighten down the set screw, which is going to dig into the Speedrail and make it so that there's no way that Speedrail is moving. So it's just kind of an extra optional thing, allowing you to put that extra set screw in there. And that's a pretty cool feature. So coming back to the hitch, we went over the clamps, we went over the different mounting points, we went over how you can move the clamps. So the last thing here is the actual way we secure it to the vehicle. Now, normally other hitch receivers out there, hitch mounts out there, they just use a trailer pin. And so this is a common method of hooking up a trailer that you're going to haul a car with. They're really big stainless pins that just go through the whole thing and make it so that nothing comes out. The downside of this is that normally, if this is the way your current hitch mount bolts or attaches to the vehicle, what you'll notice if you've ever used one of these hitches is that it dances around, like you can move it an inch up, down, left, and right. So there's a lot of play in hitch mounts. So what we did different is, instead of securing the hitch mount with a trailer pin, which would result in a very sloppy fitting hitch, and, you know, since this is the foundation of your rigging, that's the last thing you want. So what we did is we threaded our hitch mount, and we're using a 1/2 inch stainless steel bolt, very high grade. And so what happens is once you slide this in, like we'll do here in a few moments, you actually thread in, you put a wrench on here, and you tighten this a lot. And so the result is there is absolutely no lateral deflection. And so you'll see I'll be able to move the whole truck and there'll be no play in the hitch. There'll be a little bit of vertical movement, but once again, once you load up your camera and the arm and everything and you run the other Speedrail, that movement also disappears completely. So the end result is a very solid hitch mount rigging. So the other little thing that we did here is we also cross-drilled the mounting points so that you can actually slide this out, rotate it 90 degrees, slide it back in, and now these clamps are horizontal. So if you have to run horizontal tubes across the back of the car, you can do it like that. So it just gives you one more option on how to mount our hitch receiver and get that rigging just the way you need it to go. So, you know, that pretty much gives you an overview of our hitch mount. I'm really excited to use it, and I'm going to start here. We're going to continue filming the overview of some of our other products that we're launching, like our pickup truck bed starters and our action arm and our isolator mount and a bunch of cool stuff we're coming out with. So I'm actually going to mount this to this truck, and we're going to show you what that looks like. The last little bit that I wanted to get into before we sign off here is Speedrail sizing. So this is a little bit of, to me, I get very frustrated with it coming from a machining background where we're very exact. In the United States, we use a common nomenclature sizing for Speedrail of 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, 2-inch Speedrail. Now, what's a little frustrating is that 2-inch Speedrail is not 2 inches outer diameter. It doesn't actually measure 2 inches inside either. It's very frustrating because people say 2 inches, but it doesn't actually measure 2 inches. People say 1.25 inches, but it's far from being 1.25 inches, either if you measure on the inside or the outside. So here's a quick little graphic that we're going to throw up that shows you all the different sizes, what people call them, and what they actually measure. So I just want to avoid you ordering the wrong size Speedrail. But one of the things I wanted to bring up is we are making these, like I said, in the 2-inch size and the 1.25 inches, but we're also going to be making shims. So if you want, you can order the 2-inch Speedrail clamp and then just order some shims for 1.25 inches. And then that way you're ready for anything that might come your way. You know, if you can only find a 2-inch Speedrail wherever you may be flying, because a lot of times we fly to the location and when the Speedrail comes locally, we don't fly with Speedrail. And if they show up with 2-inch, you can make that work. Or if they show up with 1.25 inches, you just pop the shim in there and you're ready to go. All right, let's get into a little bit of the installation. Basically, you have 3 different mounting positions, and I can just slide it in. I like to use the first one. I put some pressure until I feel it fall in, and you can get it started with your hand. Now, it is a 3/4 inch socket, which I have set up here. And I like to tighten one side first because there's a little bit of play in the receiver. So if you tighten one side first, it pushes the side of the mount against the wall of the receiver. So I like to tighten one side first fully, get it nice and tight, and then I take the other bolt and get it started on the other side. And you can just thread it in by hand like that, and get it nice and tight. So as you can see here, there is no play. And then all you got to do is add your Speedrail, and then I have preset here. It is a 3/16 Allen, which is the same that you find on lots of rigging equipment. and then you can get your Speedrail attached to the hitch receiver. Now, like I said, we use 1.25 inch, and we use 2 Speedrails for our arm mounts for the CineMilled action arm. But if you're using a black arm or any of the many other arms out there, most of them are set up for a single Speedrail only. So you can just run the single Speedrail off of the side here, or you can take the clamp and bolt it directly to the front and run the Speedrail right off the front, right? So you can also take this clamp, put it on the side, so you have a preset 2 positions for a single vertical. Or if you're running the double like we are here, you just set them up like we did here, and then slide in your double tubes and tighten with the wrench. And once again, little note, we're using a double-sided clamp, which is a little bit different than a lot of people out there. And so what you want to be aware of is you don't want to tighten one side all the way. You want to do an equal amount on one side and an equal amount on the other side. So we get that right there, and then we come over to the other side, finish that off, and make sure we're nice and tight on both sides. And that's pretty much it. So if you want, you can use an additional safety set screw that you can put into right there, and it's the same 3/16 Allen, and that's now going to dig into the aluminum. So there's absolutely no way that this tube is going to slip. So we have the double-sided clamp applying full pressure to the tube, much more than on other clamps. And then we have the additional set screw if you want. That's really just an extra safety. It's an optional safety. And that's pretty much it, guys. So once again, you can see here, you can move it in any one of the different positions. You can change the angle to 45 angles, and you can go vertical or horizontal. And of course, you can go in the front. And of course, you go in the front horizontally if you need that for extra rigging. One more configuration you have here is, say you want to run the tubes horizontally across the back of the bumper. What you could do is, we cross-drilled the mounting points. So you could just take the hitch out, rotate it, and then slide it back in like this. And now you can, let's find the hole. There we go. Now you can run the Speedrail going horizontally across the bumper. So you may want to do this because you're rigging a different, you might be using this hitch for a million different reasons. There's many reasons why you may want the tubes to go horizontally across the bumper, because then you're building some other structure off of here and you wanted it to be stiffer. So anyways, just one more way you can use, and then that's an explanation why there's these extra holes on the hitch, is so you can take it out and rotate it, and now your clamps are going across. Now, of course, you can also you have the mounting point at the end, which if you still need you need to go horizontally across and you still need a vertical tube, you just put in the clamp at the end vertically, and you now have a vertical tube and horizontal tubes at the same time. Consequently, of course, if you have this mounted the way we had it before, you can have vertical tubes, and all you got to do is mount this the same way, and you can have a horizontal tube going across also. All right, so that was just a quick look at what it takes to install the hitch. As you saw, it's really simple. Just, 2 bolts, tighten them up, tighten one side first, then the other, and you're good to go. And then you can start building out the rest of your rigging. So just to review, when you go to order, there will be a few options. So I just want to go over the options real quick so we can make sure that you're ordering the right thing. And basically, of course, the main option is the receiver size, the hitch size. So this is a 2-inch here, commonly found on pickup trucks, most pickup trucks. There is a 1.5 inch size, which is the smaller size, which you find on passenger vehicles. And then there is the Speedrail size. So we're going to offer 1.25 inch and 2 inch. We're also going to have an option there for you to get a shim to take you from the 2 inch to the 1.25 inch. Lastly, this is now a good time to bring up the fact that we are now going to be offering black anodized Speedrail. So this will also be an option when you're ordering the hitch. So of course you can get Speedrail any number of different places all over the country and the world. You can even find it in steel instead of aluminum. So you have lots of options. You can just spray paint it yourself. Problem with spray paint is that it'll rub off real quick. Of course, because we're trying to minimize reflections, especially if you're building your own vehicle rig, it's really nice to have black anodized Speedrail that doesn't rub off so easily, and doesn't give you reflections, and just makes your finished rig look a lot nicer. So we're going to be offering various different sizes all the way up to 6 feet long. Unfortunately, we have a little bit of a shipping restriction, and so here's some black Speedrail right here, and yeah, so you'll be able to order different sizes. All right, guys, so that's pretty much covers this for today. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you have a question, fire them off, and I'm always replying to these videos. If you have any additional questions and whatnot, we have a CineMilled users Facebook group that's really great. And we also have a vehicle rigging and camera car Facebook group that's extremely active. There's a lot of people there posting pictures of their rigs. It's a really helpful place to, if you get stuck in your rigging, to ask questions. That's a great resource, the vehicle rigging group on Facebook. And yeah, so like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.